If you look at European reactions, Italy's far-right Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni saying it never works demonizing the people who don't vote for the left. A far different reaction from Germany's Foreign Minister, Annalena Baerbock of the Greens, openly expressing her worry.
I would like to make it clear that Germany and France bear a special responsibility for our common Europe, and nobody can be indifferent when, here for example, in the European elections, or in the case of our closest partner and friend, a party that sees Europe as the problem and not the solution is far ahead in the polls.
For more, let's cross to Zurich. François Hublet is political analyst, editor-in-chief of Blue, in a publication of the Groupe d'études of the geopolitics study group think tank. Thanks for being with us here on France 24.
Thank you for having me.
What's the reaction in Zurich? What's the reaction in Europe?
I mean, the reaction in Europe is, of course, perplexity. I think that's the main thing we're seeing right now. I mean, everyone has been surprised. Everyone has been shocked, first by the dissolution of the National Assembly on the election night of the European election. And now, of course, the threat that was materializing back then, that the Rassemblement National, could win an outright majority or at least a plurality of seats, this threat is materializing very clearly. So I think that is the main reaction is shock and perplexity.
Why are the moderates, as you heard our politics editor speaking a moment ago, why are the moderates seem to be fading away?
Well, the moderates are not fading away. I mean, the moderates in France, today they represent something like maybe 50% of the electorate, split between those voting for the moderate center-right and the center, represented by Macron and Les Républicains on the right, and then part of the left, which is also moderate left. I mean, there has been a lot of talks and also political rhetoric trying to emphasize that the left comprised parties that could be seen as extreme, and I'm mostly talking about the La France Insoumise and About France movement, but a lot of the components of this political movements are also pretty centrist when you look at the concrete programs.
And they're pretty centrist, but yet this far-right surge is happening. And I've heard over the past weekend a lot of people rueing this decision to stage this snap election and to stage such a short campaign. What will this do for Emmanuel Macron's legacy?
Well, that's extremely risky. It's an extremely risky gamble. I think the opinion on this, the opinion on this, both domestically and abroad, was very clear. I think no one really understood what happened, and the reason that we've seen emerge from reports in the press in the days following the election were mostly anecdotal. It was mostly a group of advisors to Macron who would have convinced him of this decision, and he would have kind of taken the risk of kind of trying to turn the table and disrupt the system again. I don't think this is really playing in favor of, a more positive image of Macron at European level. Macron used to have a very, very good perception in other European countries. If you looked at poll numbers in Germany, even outside of the, I would say, the close neighborhood, he was like one of the most well-known politicians from different European countries at European level. He had a positive record, at least in the eyes of many outside of France. And now this is changing. I mean, now you had, for example, the biggest newspaper in Frankfurt, the Frankfurter Allgemeine, this morning, really very, very critical of this decision, saying that was not just a risky gamble, but putting the whole of Europe at risk. So I think this is really having a very strong, very negative impact on Macron's perception abroad.
Of course, it all depends what side of the political fence you're on when it comes to what's happening in France. Today happens to be July 1st, so day one of a rotating presidency of the EU Council. It happens to go to the most Eurosceptic nation, Hungary, whose leader, Viktor Orban, is trying to build a coalition in the European Parliament of like-minded Eurosceptics. Let's take a listen to Orban.
A new era begins here, and the first, perhaps decisive moment of this new era is the creation of a new European political faction that will change European politics.
Yeah, Orban speaking there after bringing the Czech far-right on board. He's still hoping that Poland's Law and Justice Party will join him. Your thoughts on How are the stars realigning Europe-wide?
In a way, it could seem to be a coincidence. I mean, the agenda, the fact that Hungary now has the rotating presidency, that was decided much in advance. I mean, it's a plan for many years. It's been decided ahead of time. So a priori, this fact of Hungary now having the rotating presidency is a pure coincidence. Now, what is not a coincidence is that both of the result of the political drama in France and this reorganization, this reordering of the political forces, this reshuffling at European level among the far-right parties, both of these are the objective results of the European election on the 9th of June. So I think one thing that we see very clearly here is, to some degree, Europeanization of national politics in Europe, even though that is not completely new. I think it's fair to say that the election showed the momentum of these kinds of dynamics. Now, of course, it's very different when we're talking about a French far-right on one side and the Hungarian far-right on the other, because they're in completely different situations. They also have different allies at European level. And now Orban is trying to gain momentum, trying to build an alliance around him, while at the same time the Rassemblement National, despite being very strong domestically, is potentially actually having to face a weakening at European level. The reason of that being that members of the ID group, of the Identity and Democracy group, which was under French, dominated by the French members and will be in the next term, is losing members. It's losing members to this new group, among others through the loss of the FPÖ, the Austrian party, and it could lose other members in the future. There were talks, for example, of Portuguese Chega also leaving the group. So it's realignment. This realignment is not entirely clear. So of course the Rassemblement National is gaining momentum domestically, but it's not clear at all whether it will be more powerful at European level than it used to be.
François Hublet, many thanks for joining us from Zurich.
Thank you.